Gamers, it is finally here. I got to Master Rank, and then I got a 5-game win streak in Master Rank to make sure that I knew what I was talking about, even though I've practiced this deck quite a bit already at this point. We're, of course, today talking about Yubel, finally out in the game. I've been really excited for this deck. I'm using the Super Poly variant, but at the end of the video, I'm going to show you the deck, like what you do if you want to remove Super Poly. But yeah, this deck is super crazy. I think it's tier 1. I'm not convinced that it's the best deck in the game. I think it will probably be the best deck in the game once we get Fiendsmith. But for now, I think Rescue Ace is better. And between Snake Eyes and this, I'm not 100%. I'm inclined to give it to Snake Eyes. It feels like Yubel, until it gets Fiendsmith, is the victim of having some unfortunate hands at times. It's not so much so that, you know, I'd say the deck is inconsistent or anything. It's just that it does happen from time to time, so I do have to keep that in consideration. But I do think it's a tier 1 strategy. I think it's really that good. It's really, really crazy. And one of my favorite things about it is you can kind of jump scare your opponents because you can fusion summon Phantom of Yubel. Well, it's a contact fuse, actually. And if your hand allows it, you can drop this card on the field before you even start any of your plays. So if your opponent did not shotgun Maxi in the draw phase, you actually get to drop this on the field as your first play in the main phase and then go on to your full combo. And if they had Maxi in hand, well, they just lost the opportunity to do it because Phantom of Yubel is an amazing monster negate. All in all, this deck revolves around 0 attack, 0 defense fiend monsters. It revolves also around the idea of popping your Spirit of Yubel multiple times to get a bunch of bodies on the field. Basically, Spirit of Yubel when popped will summon the OG Yubel, then OG Yubel when popped will summon the Terror Incarnate, and neither of these cards are once per turn. So the idea is that you'll do that, and then you'll use your fusion to shuffle back your materials. The summon of your fusion is also not once per turn, and so you can like reset the effect of Spirit of Yubel multiple times, kind of similar to popping the baby in Dinos. So I really, really like this playstyle. It really reminds me of like, it's like if Dinos was tier 1 or something, you know? I don't want to spend too much time on this introduction because this is probably going to be a longer deck profile than usual for me. I want it to be a bit more all-inclusive with this video. I have like 4 good replays to show you. I also want to show you some plays into Nibiru. Towards the end, I want to show you the full 1-card combo with Samsara D Lotus in case you missed it in my prior videos where I talked about Yubel. And then after that, I also want to show you how to do Chaos Angel loops. Keep in mind, Chaos Angel is not once per turn, and it's pretty easy to summon multiple times in this deck to clear the board. So we've got a ton to unpack. We're going to talk a bit more about the deck itself once we get to the card by card. But as it stands, I just want to get straight into the replays. So let's just get into it. All right, so our first replay is a very high ceiling full combo here. We've got all the gas we could ask for. We have our main starter 1-card combo. We've got our main extender, which special summons itself while you control a fiend and can banish itself to special a fiend from the grave. And we have our field spell, which is just like, you know, Purrely levels of broken. Plus we have cross out. You really couldn't ask for a better hand. So this is just going to be super high ceiling full combo. Basically, we're going to start off actually with the field spell. I really like doing this to insulate myself from potential hand traps. You basically go for the field spell, you pop the Spirit of Yubel from the deck, and then you can summon out the Yubel, shuffle both, and summon out your Phantom of Yubel, which will change any monster effect to popping a Yubel from the deck. Then we can normal summon the Samsara D Lotus. We can tribute it to special out from the deck a Spirit of Yubel. At this point, Spirit of Yubel will use its effect to set the Nightmare Pain. We can activate Nightmare Pain, pop the Spirit of Yubel, and then we get to search our Eternal Favorite, trigger Spirit in the grave, summon out the regular Yubel, activate Grave Squirmer, special summon from hand. With its effect, you can also pop the Yubel to summon out the Terror Incarnate. Use these two to go into Cross Sheep, and then at this point, we're going to summon out one of our fusion monsters, and this time I put in attack position under the Cross Sheep, special out the Samsara D Lotus, and then we're going to link away into our, yes, our Unchained Soul of Yama, sorry. Add the Shawarma to the hand. I just want to point out the reason I put this in attack is because our Nightmare Pain does make all our Yubel monsters Mekonko monsters, and it also forces your opponent to attack them. So if your opponent leaves any face-up attack position monsters on the field, they will have to swing into the Yubel monsters you control. So really, really annoying card to deal with. They basically have to out it. So anyway, we're going to link those two away into an Appaloosa. So we've been pretty much safe from Nib this entire combo. So that's another good thing about this line. And now we can banish the Squirmer from the grave, special out the Spirit, pop the Spirit with the Shawarma, trigger Spirit Engrave, and we also get to trigger the second effect of our Nightmare Throne. If a Yubel monster is destroyed, you can you can add to your hand a Yubel monster with a level that's either 1 above or 1 under, and if you do, you can special summon it. So basically, this means that since we popped a level 10, we can add the level 11 Yubel to our hand from the deck and special summon it. Since we're safe from Nibiru and pretty late into our combo, it's a pretty safe point in the combo to use this effect and get some extra extenders on top of it. So here we go. Throne is going to add to hand the Terror Incarnate, and then Terror Incarnate will special summon it. So, well, it'll special summon it. Then with the Incarnate as well as our Sharvara, we want to go into our dog, our Soul of Rage. Then we can trigger our Sharvara in the grave to set our Escape of the Unchained. So this is basically, I think, about as high ceiling as it gets for this deck. We have Eternal Favorite, which is allowed to, well, it's basically a searchable super poly while we control the original Yubel, which we do. And in the end phase, since we have, where is it? Yeah, here it is. Since we have Samsara D Lotus in the graveyard, we'll actually be able to special summon it in the end phase because it special summons itself while you control Yubel. And then we can use the effect of Yubel to tribute it to make sure to keep Yubel on the field so that we can use our super poly effect. So we'll have this on top of all the other interruption we have. So set that, set everything, keep Valor in hand, special the Samsara from grave, use Yubel, tribute a monster to not destroy itself in end phase, and we pass turn here. Really, really solid setup. Our opponent obviously is just playing like Memento, so this is like an easy win, but at least I wanted to show you a really, really thorough full setup. And I think this is about as good as it gets for your turn 1 combo, honestly, at least for this build. So yeah, they're not going to stick around for very long here. We get to trigger the effect of Yama as well as Unchained Soul of Rage. Yama will bring back the Soul of Rage, and Soul of Rage will add to your hand your Lotus so that you get some grind game with that card. You know, you get another starter for turn 3. And at this point, they're going to go for Memento Fusion, you know, just summon the Twin Dragon. I'm just going to negate this one with the Appaloosa, you know, simple enough. And one thing that's really cool, actually, that I want to mention before my opponent scoops it up is because of this card here, even if Appaloosa was on only 800 attack or 0 attack, they actually can't go beat over it because they're forced to attack our Yubel monsters. So that means even if it's just Phantom of Yubel, I mean, they have to swing into it and they'll just take the battle damage from it. So until they can clear all our Yubel monsters or clear the Nightmare Pain, our Appaloosa is turbo safe, you know? So that's a really, really good thing about it. But yeah, they're going to scoop it up here, rightfully so. There really wasn't much they could do. I think this is about as good as it gets again for this build, but I will show you just like the regular 1-card combo later because I'm sure when you get all this gas and stuff, if you're just getting introduced to the deck, might be a bit confusing, but for the people that are a bit more accustomed to the cards, I think that could still be a really useful combo to see. Either way, we're going to move on now. I'm just going to show you the mirror match real quick. All right, now the mirror match for Yubel is really, really interesting. It's incredibly interesting. It's one of the most fascinating mirror matches that you could really ever see in Yu-Gi-Oh, if you ask me. Like, genuinely, I don't think there's actually a mirror match in this game that's more intense, that goes deeper, that requires as much thought as this one. So look, my opponent is popping off right now, doing a crazy combo, and like, I'm terrified here. Like, I just don't know what I'm gonna do. I didn't even activate my Max C, you know, because I was playing around Gamma, and then the first thing they did, they summoned the Phantom of Yubel, which means that, I mean, I couldn't even activate Max C anymore because they would just negate it. So I just have to watch my opponent do this whole combo, and the board, as you know, is kind of unbreakable. So like, how the hell could we possibly play through all this stuff? I don't know, but we'll try to figure it out. So either way, they go for a Muckraker here, Muckraker, sorry, and summon out the Unchained Soul of Rage. So it's our turn here. And yeah, I'm really at a loss for words. I really don't know what to do. So I'm going to activate Max C to bait out Phantom of Yubel, just because Phantom of Yubel can't be fusioned away. So we're going to do that. They're going to trigger their Phantom of Yubel. I was really hoping they would do this. A lot of their effects summon, so it's really, really like painful for them to not negate Max C. So they summon regular Yubel, and whoa, is that a Yubel monster that I can use as fusion material? Now that's crazy. Now that's crazy. Oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, so yeah, Super Poly wins the mirror. That's about the gist of the replay, honestly. And at this point, I mean, I think they scoop pretty, yeah. It's a really interesting mirror match. All right, and the last replay I'm going to show you is going second into Purrely. Now, I will say, I was not playing super optimal for this replay, but I still think it's pretty valuable because I don't think I played super terrible. It's just that I forgot how Nightmare Pain works, and I forgot that I had that Mikanko effect where my opponent would take the damage when I crash. So I do a lot of plays that could be considered BM. Then I realize, oh wait, I can just crash and win the game. And then I go for that. So I'm just going to warn you in advance that I do almost BM on turn 2 here. But still, I think I played through it pretty well. So they get their full setup, right? They get the Purrely Noir. I don't have any hand traps. So they get to set this up. They set up the Purrely Yeep or Purrely Eep or whatever you want to call it. And, you know, they get all their materials. They're all set up. They're going to get their unaffected Noir here. So here they go. They get to draw also 4 times. And we just got lucky. They didn't get a Max C. So they draw once. So they go into E Noir. At this point, they can go for E Purrely Noir, draw again, and draw again. Very good. So either way, I'm just going to shuffle back my 2 OG Yubels in hand to summon Phantom of Yubel. And then I'm going to activate my field spell. They're going to go for E Purrely Noir, targeting our field spell here. We're going to go for the Phantom of Yubel, just to kind of force them to use all their materials on E Purrely Noir so that I have free reign afterwards to combo off. And at this point, I mean, I have a Called by the Grave to my name, and I'm just kind of praying they don't have Max C, because I'll probably have to negate like an Ash Blossom or something, which is exactly what happens. So I go for Spirit of Yubel, they go for Ash Blossom. I'm like, I have to, you know, I have to call by the Ash here. I basically have no choice. So we called by the Ash. Ash is gone. After this, we get to summon the regular Yubel, I believe. Yeah, OG Yubel gets summoned. We can special out the Grave Squirmer here. Grave Squirmer, pop the OG Yubel. OG Yubel, summon Terra Incarnate. Use these two. We can go into Cross Sheep. Then we can go into our Fusion, shuffling back the materials. Cross Sheep's going to trigger, summon out the Squirmer from the grave. And we can go into Chaos Angel. Chaos Angel, I'm going to try to banish the field spell, but they negate our Chaos Angel. Now, here, I think I could have went for Chaos Angel loops. And I think I do for one time. I might be wrong about this. Let's see. I kind of forgot, honestly. So bring back Spirit of Yubel. I get Spirit of Yubel effect to set the Nightmare Pain. Activate Nightmare Pain here. And we're just going to pop the Spirit of Yubel we had in hand so that we get like more bodies. I didn't even normal summon yet this turn, by the way. Summon out the OG Yubel from the deck here. We go into Unchained Soul of Yama. Yama, I'm going to add to hand the Shawarma. Then we're going to summon out the Lotus. Summon out the Fusion yet again. Go into Access Code. Okay, I decided to go for Access Code. Okay, yeah, interesting. So this is kind of what I mean, where I was kind of BMing because I forgot that I could just crash my Yubels into this and just win the game pretty easily. So I started trying to pop stuff with Access Code. I pop my OG Yubel to summon my Shavarva. Then OG Yubel is going to summon Terra Incarnate. I go for Samsara the Lotus, tribute itself to summon the Spirit of Yubel and attack. This is basically the moment I realized, what am I doing? I can just crash. And then I go for that, you know, we just crash. Mekanko effects are very funny. So yeah, not the most optimal replay, honestly, but you know, it's serviceable. It still goes to show, like, don't forget your Mekanko effect. It's kind of crazy going second. You know, just crashing into big bodies will win you a lot of games. Not having to remove cards is really useful in this format. You know, not having to remove Fire King cards is really, really valuable. Not having to remove Tier Limit cards, which are also quite relevant, is really, really valuable. So definitely something to keep in mind for this deck. Now, the next thing I want to show you before we go into some live gameplay in solo mode, I think it'd be really valuable as a resource to just show you guys the different plays you have through Nibiru, just so you know what to do if you ever get Nibiru mid combo. So let's go check that out. So we'll just fast forward here. Summon the Lotus. You get to bring out the Spirit of Yubel. Wait, actually, give me a second. Spirit of Yubel, get the Nightmare Pain. Nightmare Pain, pop the Yubel to add Squirmer to hand. I'm just going to turn off the sound. That sound is really annoying. So yeah, we're going to keep going here. So Spirit of Yubel can summon out Yubel. Then you can go for Squirmer, Special Squirmer, pop Yubel, bring out the Yubel Terra Incarnate. That's 5 summons. So they can go for Nibiru here. At that point, we can shuffle back the Terra Incarnate as well as the OG Yubel to go into our Yubel Fusion, right? So here we go. Summon out the Phantom of Yubel. And then at this point, we can go for Grave Squirmer effect and Grave, special out the Spirit of Yubel. Then we can go and make ourselves a Cross Sheep using our token as well as Spirit of Yubel. And we can go into a Fusion again using the Spirit of Yubel as well as the Squirmer engrave. So we go for the next play here. We're going to shuffle back the Spirit, shuffle back the Squirmer, go into our Fusion where our Cross Sheep is pointing. Cross Sheep will trigger, bring back the Lotus. At this point, we can go for Lotus plus Phantom of Yubel and go into our Unchained Lord of Yama. Yama is going to add the Sharvara to the hand. At this point, we can go ahead and activate Sharvara, popping the Yama to summon it out. And we also get to then link it off and make ourselves a Unchained Soul of Rage, set up our trap, and there we go. And pretty much any point in this combo where they can Nibiru will net you this board. And this is 5 interruptions. So you have the trap, popping the Unchained Soul of Rage as well as an opponent's monster. You have the monster negate. And then also after you pop the Unchained Soul of Rage with your trap, Unchained Soul of Rage will come back on opponent's turn thanks to the effect of Yama. And you'll also get to add back a Lotus to your hand. So then you can use the link effect of Soul of Rage, which is your 3rd interruption. And then you also get to use the effect of SP, like on summon, which is like your 4th interruption, or I guess that's like a 0.5 interruption. And then you also have the quick effect of SP to banish one of your monsters and another card on the field. So all in all, that's like 4.5 or 5 interruptions through nib at any given time. I'm going to show you how if they do nib a little bit later, you end up on the same board. All right, so even though they could nib here, let's just say your opponent is patient and waits for you to go into cross sheep. So we go to the next play here. We're going to send both of these to the grave to make a cross sheep, and then they're going to nib. So if they nib after cross sheep and before you get to use the effect of cross sheep, it's not that big a deal. You get to do pretty much a very similar thing and you end up with the exact same board. So all roads lead to Rome with this deck. You're shuffling the Yubel and the Terra Incarnate. You go ahead and make yourself the Phantom of Yubel. At this point, you can go for the effect of Grave Squirmer in the grave, banish it to summon out the Spirit of Yubel. Then you can go ahead and make yourself a Yama using your Phantom as well as your Spirit. So send these two to the grave to make Yama. You go for Yama effect, grab the Unchained Soul of Sharvara. At this point, you can go for the, I think you can fusion here using Spirit of Yubel as well as Samsara D Lotus in the grave. So you can summon out another Phantom of Yubel to get a monster negate on board. Then you can go for Sharvara, pop the Lord of Yama, summon out the Sharvara, and then basically you just use Sharvara and your Nibiru token to make yourself a Unchained Soul of Rage. And because your Sharvara was sent to the grave, you get to set your trap yet again. And we're back on the same board, you know, 4.5 to 5 interruptions, depending on how you want to call it. So same difference. And now we're going to go a step further. What if they wait even longer to Nibiru? So let me show you that. All right, so this time we got to Cross Sheep. They did not use their Nibiru yet. We get to go for Phantom of Yubel. Under the Cross Sheep triggers. Well, we shuffle back our materials, of course. I think I did it after instead of before. That was a bit of a mistake, but whatever. Cross Sheep triggers. We get to summon from the grave our Samsara Lotus. And then we use our Phantom of Yubel and our Lotus to make ourselves a Unchained Lord of Yama. And then they decide to go Nibiru. So they activate Nibiru after we get our Yama. Of course, Yama still triggers on summon here, so I'm just going to add the Sharvara. Then they get to Nibiru, basically wipe the board. And at this point, we have a token, we have Sharvara in hand, and we have, you know, our Squirmer in the grave. So we're pretty much well set up to do the exact same thing yet again. So here we go. We can trigger our Squirmer in the grave, banish it. I banished it face down accidentally. I'm not super used to Dueling Book. Haven't used it in a while. Summon out the Spirit of Yubel. Then we can pop the Spirit of Yubel with the Sharvara. So pop the Spirit of Yubel, summon Sharvara. Spirit of Yubel is then going to summon from our deck the OG Yubel. Then what we can do, we can use our OG Yubel as well as our Sharvara to go into the Unchained Soul of Rage. So we send those two to the grave. Then we get, I was about to use a token, but I actually changed my mind because we need to use Yubel for the fusion anyway. So at this point, we get to activate the effect of Sharvara, set up our trap, and now we get to use our Yubel in grave as well as our Spirit of Yubel, shuffle both into the deck, make our fusion. Where's the fusion? There it is. So yeah, same exact board, even after they waited even longer to go Nibiru. So this deck really does not care much about Nibiru at all, as you can see. Well, it cares a little bit. I mean, I get less interruptions, but keep in mind, this was all with the one card combo. And if I had more gas, I could have potentially had the Phantom of Yubel in advance to just deal with the Nibiru outright, or I could have played even further and summoned even more stuff and potentially gotten the full board with the Appaloosa and the Unchained Soul of Rage and the Phantom, depending on how much gas I had access to. Next thing we're going to do is I'm just going to go show you like the step-by-step one card combo with Lotus, just in case you missed it 2 videos ago, you know, and you didn't watch that one. You'll have it in this video. You know, this video is meant to be a resource, so I kind of want to be all encompassing, or as much as possible at least. So yeah, back to Master Duel. Oh boy, feels good to look at a pretty board again. Oh my god, dude, Dueling Book is so ugly, but shout out Dueling Book, though. At least it's really useful for use cases like those. So, yeah, we're just going to go for the one-card combo here. So you can ignore my entire hand except for Samsara Lotus, or I guess we can use Purrely Raise Map just to show that it's useful for something. You know, this is just extra copies of Samsara D Lotus at the end of the day, or usually if you already have Samsara, you'll actually want to grab the Dark Beckoning Beast. But just for the sake of, you know, just showcasing the one-card combo, I'm just going to grab Samsara D Lotus with it. And again, we're just going to ignore the rest of the hand here. So you normal Samsara D Lotus, you activate the effect. You've probably already figured this out by now because we've probably like shown it like 5 times in the video already. So we're going to go for Spirit of Yubel. Spirit of Yubel set the Nightmare Pain on the field. Now, normally here, because I would have had extenders and stuff, I would have not needed to search the Squirmer, but we're just going to act as if this hand doesn't exist. So we're going to go Nightmare Pain, pop the Phantom of Yubel, the Spirit of Yubel, I mean, on the field, and add the Squirmer to hand. At this point, we can go for the effect of Spirit Engrave, summon out the OG Yubel. So summon the OG Yubel. Then we can go for Squirmer effect, special summon it from the hand, and pop the OG Yubel on the field. This is pretty important because you want to get as many resources in the grave. So this is why you just go for the Terra Incarnate here, just so you don't have to shuffle back your Spirit early because you want to use it later in your combo. So using these two here, we're going to go straight into a Cross Sheep. And I already showed you that we don't really care that much if they went Nibiru here. So we're going to go into Phantom here. We're going to be using the OG Yubel as well as the Terror Incarnate. And we're going to summon that right here where Cross Sheep points to. We can go for Cross Sheep effect, summon out the Lotus from the grave. There he goes. With these two, we can go straight into our, yes, Unchained Soul Lord of Yama. So use these two here, summon this. This is also a decent point to Nibiru, except it's the exact same as if they Nibiru'd any time earlier. So we grab the Sharvara here. And basically, this is the last point where they could have had any impact if they used Nibiru, because your next play is to make Appaloosa using these two here. And basically at this point, if they don't have Imperm and Nibiru, their Nibiru is never doing anything. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Now what we can do, we can go for the effect of Squirmer Engrave. And we're going to special summon out our Spirit of Yubel from the graveyard. After which we can go for our Unchained Soul of Sharvara, pop the Yubel, you know, just like we pop a baby. And we can go for the effect of Yubel. Don't use the Yama turn 1. You want to use it on your opponent's turn to make sure that you get as many interruptions as possible. So here we summon the OG Yubel. Then at this point, we can go ahead and use these two to go into Soul of Rage, 1 and 2. And we'll get to trigger our graveyard effect on Sharvara. Set our trap card. So there we go. Set the Escape of the Unchained. And last but not least, we make ourselves a Phantom of Yubel using the OG Yubel in the grave, as well as I like using the Spirit of Yubel because with the Soul of Rage effect in grave next turn, I'll usually add back the Lotus to my hand. So we'll go for this here, summon out the Phantom of Yubel. And again, we're just not going to use any of the cards in hand here. This was all just the one card combo, so you get this step by step. I think this is a really, really great board. I mean, it doesn't look as crazy as it actually is. This is like 7 interruptions. You have basically the trap that will pop the Soul of Rage. Then you have the Soul of Rage effect in grave. You'll add back a Samsara to your hand. So you have, you know, follow up on turn 3. You're also going to get the effect of Yama to summon back the Soul of Rage. So this is the first interruption. After you summon it back, this is your second interruption. You get to basically suck up a monster, you know, and make an SP. SP is your third interruption and also your fourth because it has both the on-summon banish effect and the quick effect when your opponent activates anything to banish 2 cards on the field. That can be really, really useful. Then you have, of course, 2 interruptions with the Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, and you have the Phantom of Yubel as your 7th interruption, being essentially a monster negate that will also summon Yubel from the deck. And keep in mind, if your opponent just goes straight to battle and they want to swing into Phantom of Yubel, it can't be destroyed by battle, and your opponent will take all the damage because of Nightmare Pain. And they also are forced to attack the Phantom of Yubel, so even if they summon a monster that's higher attack than Appaloosa, you really don't care. They can't beat over it. Now, I don't really think it's worth it to just meander here with this bot and show you all the interactions. I mean, I already just kind of explained all the interactions, so we're just going to move on to the last thing I wanted to show you. All right, so the last thing I want to do before we go to the card by card, I know this has been a pretty long video. There's a lot of things I wanted to cover for Yubel. I want this to be like a bit more all-inclusive, generally speaking. So I just want to show you how you can loop Chaos Angel going second to just remove a bunch of threats from the board. I didn't really get a replay and ladder for this, so I figured I'll just do it in solo mode just to give you an idea. But you can do this pretty much just with your 1-card combo. It totally works. So we go for Purrely Rise map. We'll add the Samsara D Lotus. Now, to be fair, if you use more extenders, your board can be a little bit less scuffed, and the way you go about it will be less scuffed. But I think this should be good enough to just show you how you can do it. So we're just going to go for the 1-card combo. We're going to ignore everything else in the hand here. We're just going to go for Samsara Lotus, summon out the Spirit of Yubel, set the Nightmare Pain from the deck, just like so. Yes, very good. Now we can go for Nightmare Pain. Nightmare Pain, pop the Spirit of Yubel. Pop in. Pop the baby, right? We're going to add to our hand the Squirmer, and we get to summon with Spirit of Yubel a copy of the OG. So we're going to summon out the OG over here. Very good. At this point, you can go for Grave Squirmer effect, special summon it from hand. Use the Squirmer to pop the Yubel, and summon out the level 11 Terror Incarnate from the deck. So summon out the level 11 here. With these two, go straight into a good old Cross Sheep. Just like so. And technically, you can land this 3 times, I believe. So at this point, you want to go for the Fusion. So we're going to shuffle back the Terror Incarnate as well as the regular Yubel. And basically, you just need the Fusion and a level 1 to be able to go into Chaos Angel in this deck. So here we get access to it by doing this. With these two, you can go Chaos Angel. And again, this isn't necessarily the line you're going to go for to do it, because you're going to, you know, you could use all your other gas to like establish yourself on top of doing the Chaos Angel. This is really just to show you how to loop them. So, you know, here's Chaos Angel hitting the board. And now we can go for Chaos Angel effect. And the thing about Chaos Angel is it's not once per turn, right? So remove one card. Now what do? Well, we can actually just go into a Muckraker and just do it again. So we can go Muckraker. Yep. Muckraker, discard. Now Muckraker does lock you into Fiends for the rest of the turn. So again, you might want to be doing other things before you go into this removal plan, depending on the scenario. And now you can just target your Chaos Angel, discard whatever card you want. Summon out the Chaos Angel, and Chaos Angel can banish another card, just like so. At this point, you want to go for the Grave Squirmer, and if you had other gas, you would keep your Grave Squirmer for later, but here we're just gonna like go off of the one card combo just to show that it can be done. So we can summon out the, well, actually, it doesn't really matter what you summon out here. Yeah, okay, we'll go for the Samsara Lotus. We gotta use these two to make Yama. Yama is gonna add the fusion. Not the fusion, I mean the shawarma, sorry. Add shawarma. I don't know why I said fusion there, you know. Did get up at 2 a.m. today to cover all this stuff, so give me a break. All right, using these two, we're going to go into our fusion, like so. And now, basically, with these two, you can go into the dog. Very good, very good. And now that you have Yama engraved, you could go Unchained Soul of Shawarma, like pop Muckraker or whatever you want to pop, really. We'll just pop Muckraker in this scenario. Just to show you that you can do it. Then you could go like Yama. Yama, summon out the Chaos Angel yet again. And in theory, like we don't have a target here, but you know, you could go again for the effect and remove a card from the field. Here, I'm just going to banish my own card just to show you. So yeah, you can use like Chaos Angel 3 times in one turn, going second off of a 1-card combo. Keep in mind, we had all this gas available to us that we didn't even need to use. If we used it, we probably could have had a fusion on the field to insulate ourselves a little bit. We could have kept our more important resources to like do even further plays after we did the Chaos Angel stuff. So this was really just to show you like a rudimentary version of the loop. And you can really like, you can kind of make this work in a lot of different combos depending on the scenario. So just something to keep in mind, you know, if you need removal and you need a big body, Chaos Angel is going to do a lot of work for you. So definitely don't sleep on this card. A very, very strong card in this deck. And I think with all that, we can finally go and do the card by card. So all in all, overall thoughts on this deck, I think it's really, really solid. I think it's great. A top tier contender in my opinion. I will say, however, this deck can suffer sometimes from unfortunate hands. This is mostly due to the fact that we don't have Fiendsmith yet, which is going to add like a shit ton of consistency to the deck. And so until then, you might get hands sometimes where it feels like you kind of have to pass on like Phantom Control, like when you get a lot of the big bodies and you can't really do anything with them. So you might end up sometimes passing on like Phantom of Yubel, like in a set imperm and a couple of hand traps and stuff like that. So like it's not always perfect, but I would say, you know, most decks, even the best decks, can get some unfortunate hands. And while this deck might get it a bit more often, it's definitely not inconsistent. Vast majority of games, you're getting full combo. You have a lot of access to 1-card combos in this deck. You basically have 9 copies of your 1-card combo with Samsara D Lotus, and you have a ton also of like 2-card combos. Like for example, your Nightmare Pain plus a Dark Beckoning Beast is full combo. Nightmare Pain plus Spirit of Yubel is full combo. Gruesome Grave Squirmer plus Spirit of Yubel is also a combo. I'll just tell you that right now. You can go like summon Squirmer, make Almirage, activate Squirmer Engrave to banish itself, special summon Spirit of Yubel from the hand, because this can special from hand or graveyard with its graveyard effect. And then Spirit of Yubel will set up the Nightmare Pain, at which point you can go Nightmare Pain, pop the Spirit of Yubel, search a Squirmer, add it to hand, activate the hand effect of Squirmer, special summon it, pop, you know, the Yubel, and get into the rigmarole of things. I didn't get a replay of that, so I'm just telling you right now that that's a really good line that you can do if you have like Squirmer plus this. You can combo. Trust me, you can combo. So all in all, this deck is quite consistent. It just does suffer from some unfortunate hands. Another note I want to make is that I'm opting for the super polymerization version of this deck, especially because a lot of people currently are on Yubel. And so super poly, as you saw earlier, just completely clears the mirror match. But I will say this, you don't have to run super poly, and some would argue that it's better not to, just because you get a better toolbox. So if you were to not run it, you know, first of all, your deck would be a bit tighter and probably a bit more consistent. And also, you know, you don't have to run these two. You can run Super Producer Super Producer, you literally only use this because it uses any 2 monsters plus a fiend to make, and it can pop a card on the field. Sure, you won't have a search target for it. You know, you're just going to pop basically a Yubel. It's definitely a really, really strong card. You can also sometimes use it to proc like your Unchained stuff in grave if you need it. So it's a really strong card for the deck. So this would be something to consider if you don't run Super Poly. And another one you're going to want to throw in if you don't run Super Poly most likely is the Unchained Link 3. The Unchained Link 3 is just really, really good, especially like on turn 3 or on turn 2 as just a way to swallow your opponent's monsters. You know, you can use this one on your own turn, whereas this one only works on opponent's turn. So that's the advantage of running the Link 3 in this deck, and it's a really, really strong card. But for now, we're going to stick to the Mudra, we're going to stick to the Garura, and you know, we're just going to keep doing our thing. Now, for the ratios, we have 3 copies of Valor, 3 copies of Lotus. I'm running 2 Squirmer, but some people run 3, so you know that's at your discretion. 3 Maxi, 2 Beckoning Beast, and 2 of the Gate. Don't sleep on this. You know, this card is not just there to extend your ceiling. This card is a 2-card combo with multiple cards in your deck. For example, Dark Beckoning Beast with Spirit of Yubel. It's also a way to like enable more combos. You know, if you don't have access to one of your main starters, but you have this, at least you get to go into your Unchained lines most of the time. Actually, pretty much all the time. If you have this, you at least have access to the Unchained stuff because it just takes 2 fiends. We have 3 copies of Ash, 1 copy of Sharvara. I know some people like to run the 2 dogs and the Caesar in this deck. I'm not going for that because I want a little bit more consistency, especially since I'm running the Super Poly, but that is definitely a strong option that you can go for if you want to. We have 1 copy of the OG Yubel, triple Spirit of Yubel. I already explained that this has a bunch of 2-card combos, so I do think it's worth running at 3. 1 copy of the Terror Incarnate, the 1-for-1, because Samsara D Lotus, as you saw earlier, is full combo and it's crazy. 3 Purrely Raise map because Samsara D Lotus is full combo and it's crazy. 3 copies of Nightmare Throne because Samsara... just kidding. 3 copies of Nightmare Throne. This card is actually super overtuned. This is a crazy field spell. As you guys saw in earlier replays, not only does it give you access to like your full combo, but if you already have access to your full combo, you can use this to just get a monster negate on the field super early by popping a Spirit of Yubel and summoning a Yubel. So yeah, this is definitely a must run at 3. It's just so crazy. Already said 2 gates, 2 copies of Nightmare Pain. This card makes all your Yubel monsters Mikonkos, and your opponent has to attack your Yubel monsters, which is super annoying to deal with. It's a pain, really, to 3 copies of Super Poly, we talked about this enough. 2 copies of Called By, and 1 Crossout because Maxi is good. Triple Imperm because Imperm is good. 1 copy of Escape of the Unchained for your Unchained engine. Some people rather play the Reborn, but I rather play the Removal. 1 copy of Eternal Favorite. This is a searchable Super Poly. Not everyone's going to run this, and some people are going to run the other Yubel spell. They have a continuous spell that searches Super Poly after you summon 5 Yubels, I believe. Yeah, every time you summon a monster that is Yubel or mentions Yubel, you can add 1 counter on this card, and after you have 5 counters, you can add a Super Poly from your deck to your hand. It's super easy to fulfill the requirements for this card, so you know, I'm not exactly sure if eventually I might prefer running this. One thing I do like about this is that if we have to play into Max C, it's pretty easy to set up Eternal Favorite without giving your opponent too many draws, whereas Mature Chronicle is just kind of useless into Max C. So I'll be sticking to the trap, but I think there are some arguments to run Mature Chronicle over it, so that's really at your discretion. For the extra deck, obviously we're running all our Super Poly targets. So we have, of course, the Yubel, the Loving Defender Forever, as our like primo Super Poly target. If we control a Yubel monster, we can just wipe the opponent's entire field with Super Poly or this card. And if our opponent's playing Yubel, well then we don't even need to control Yubel most of the time. 3 copies of Phantom of Yubel. This card is just so insane and gives your deck so much gas. The summon effect is not once per turn. The negate effect is super strong and also feeds into your combo. So if you have to use a negate on your own turn, that's actually really, really good for you. Even though Tributes itself, you get another material they can then also later use as material to summon Phantom again for the next turn. So yeah, this is a crazy, crazy card. And the fact you can just contact fuse it with materials from a hand is so disgusting. Chaos Angel, I already showed you. You can loop this card. It's a really, really good removal option. It's also one of your few like really big bodies. Sometimes you might struggle to like go for game on an empty board, and this card is really going to help with that. We have 1 copy of Al Mirage because this card allows you to basically go full combo off of Squirmer plus Spirit of Yubel. You have your Unchained Soul of Rage to be able to go SP on opponent's turn. 2 copies of Cross Sheep or Muck Raker. This is just a good extender and a good toolbox card. It comes up pretty often for the deck. 1 copy of Yama, obviously, to search the Sharvara, our SP, our copy of Appaloosa, and our access code to clear out the game. And this is also one of your big bodies that sometimes you're going to use to make sure that you can go for game on an empty board. If the board is not empty, make sure to remember to use your Nightmare Pain and just swing into a big monster with a bunch of Yubels. You should be able to clear just like that. But man, What a cool deck. What a great change to the game. I'm now excited to go into ladder on stream. I mean, I'm going to have so much fun playing this deck. However, I'll have to play Centurion first. So see you in the next video for that.